Hello my friends out there in YouTube land. My name's Steve. My channel is called Stereo 999. My friends used to call me Stereo Steve in the before times, and I've been just posting random stuff on this channel, songs, and so this is my first attempt at a vinyl community YouTube video, and I'm gonna just jump in the deep end here and do the Jazz Vinyl Tag 2021, which I guess originated from a channel called Tunes from the Man Cave. So I'll just get into the questions, and then I'll just get into the questions and take it from there. So the first question is the album that got you into jazz. Okay, and that is Screamin' by Brother Jack McDuff. Brother Jack on the organ, Leo Wright on alto sax, Kenny Burrell on guitar, Joe Dukes on drums, and this album I discovered when I was like 5 years old. I had one of those little boxy record players that everybody had back in the day, and there were some records in the garage that they were either my dad's or somebody gave them to my dad, and any record I could get my hands on, I would spin on that little boxy record player. And so one day I got into the jazz records, and this one really stuck with me. Just the energy of it. I mean, just the title track, and He's a Real Gone Guy, just very just frantic and soulful, and the track Soulful Drums, where the drummer is just flailing away, and it sounded very angry to me as a kid. It made me think of just like an angry Muppet, hitting the drums. And also the fact that this drove my mom up the wall, kind of, the childhood rock and roll experience, But I highly recommend, if you like Jimmy Smith or any kind of organ jazz, 60s soul jazz, I highly recommend this record. Album that got me into jazz. All right. First jazz album that you bought. So like I said, hand-me-down records, that a lot of those that I listened to. But the first one I actually remember buying in a store, this was in a thrift store, and I was a kid, and picked it up. It was Miles Davis, Miles in the Sky. And this is, fusion is just kind of way off on the horizon here. It's got Herbie Hancock playing electric piano, Fender Rhodes, Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, Tony Williams, George Benson plays some guitar on one track, and it's a good one. It's a good one. I remember seeing, reading the credits, and it says piano and electric piano, and I heard that Rhodes, and I'm like, oh, that's what an electric piano sounds like. Woo! All right. Number 3, record you own on Blue Note, and I could have gone in a bunch of different directions with that. Could have picked Out to Lunch or Blue Train by Coltrane, but I thought, okay, what is a record that really captures the essence of Blue Note? Because there's a distinct personality to the classic Blue Note albums, and I decided on holding this up to Stanley Turrentine, Up at Mittens. It's live at the Club Mittens, which was kind of the birthplace of bebop, and it's got the heavies. It's got Stanley Turrentine on tenor, Grant Green on guitar, Horace Parlan on piano, George Tucker on bass, Al Harewood on drums. Alright, let's Let's see what we got next. Prestige, and that's definitely one of my favorite labels. Got a lot of Prestige, and I decided for my Prestige it's going to be Out There by Eric Dolphy, and this is a nice mono copy. It's got the blue Trident label, which in my humble opinion is the coolest looking Prestige label. I know the yellow Fireworks label is the, and that's my Prestige. Impulse. Well, of course, Love Supreme. John Coltrane. And it's got the gatefold with the prayer. This is a OG mono copy. What can I say about this album that hasn't already been said? Masterpiece. Record on Riverside is the next question. Okay. And for Riverside, I've got Moonbeams by Bill Evans Trio. Great piano player, was on Kinda Blue. Everybody digs Bill Evans. And perhaps this model might look familiar. This is Krista Pofgren, also known as Nico, from her modeling days before she started singing and hanging out with degenerates in the Andy Warhol factory. So yeah, that's an interesting little bit of trivia. But besides that, just musically great album. Record you own on contemporary, and you know, I only had like 2 records on contemporary. I had an Ornette Coleman record, and I had this Cecil Taylor Quartet, Looking Ahead, on the contemporary. And like the Ornette records on contemporary, it's not as experimental as his later work, but it's still pretty great. Subsidiary or small label? Well, this is the one and only record I've ever seen on this label, so I think this counts as a small label. This is New Dalta Akri, Song of Humanity, and this is goes into avant-garde, kind of free jazz territory. Oliver Lake on flute and saxophone, Anthony Davis on keyboards, Leo Smith on trumpet, who's kind of mixed higher than the rest of the band. I think it was just microphone placement when they recorded this. Wes Brown on bass, Paul Maddock on drums, and it is on this label called, what is this label called? It's called Cabell Records. But it just looked cool in the store, and I bought it. And I knew it was going to be good, and it was good. Record you own, not many know, but should. Okay, and this is another one. I just saw it in the record store, and it was in a bargain bin. It was super cheap, like maybe $2, and it just looked cool. I didn't even know what genre it was until I took it home and played it. It turned out to be a pretty interesting jazz record. This band is from Chicago. They were called Herculaneum, and the album is Olives and Orchids by Herculaneum, and it's from 2010, and the group consists of bass and drums and 4 horns, alto, tenor, trombone, and flugelhorn, and then there's guitar on 1 track, and it's on some sick kind of seafoam green vinyl. And you know, everybody loves colored vinyl. And but as far as not many know about this, but should, I mean, literally, I looked these guys up on Spotify, and they've got something like 20 monthly listeners. So yeah, this, do check this out. Herculaneum. What's next? Favorite jazz record bought in 2020? Well, honestly, I did not buy any records in 2020. I was just a shut-in, and I was realizing that I was just buried in records that I bought and hadn't really gotten around to giving a good listen to, so I decided I would just sort out the records I already have, and I didn't really buy any records in 2020. I was gifted a few, but that's a whole nother story. So am I going to skip this question? No. I'm going to talk about a record I bought in 2019. It was my birthday, and I wandered into a Goodwill, and the usual stack of crappy records. You know, being OCD, I decided I would just look through every one because there's got to be something good in there. And I found Bud Powell, The Invisible Cage. Legendary pianist Bud Powell, and this is like one of his later sessions, you know, in Paris, 1964. Got a Goodwill. It was my birthday present to myself, so yeah. Favorite album in an artist's discography. Now that's tough. That's tough. What Miles Davis record am I going to say is my favorite? What Herbie Hancock record am I going to say is my favorite? What John Coltrane records I'm going to say is my favorite? I mean, honestly. But I got one. It's mostly kind of sentimental, but it's a record by Ramsey Lewis. And this is Ramsey Lewis's all-time non-stop golden hits. And this was his debut for Columbia. Just got signed to Columbia after being on, I think, Chess or Argo, subsidiary of Chess. And he's playing his hits, and he's kind of updating them with like Fender Rhodes piano and little updated arrangements for the 70s. It's got Hang On Sloopy, Blues for the Night Owl, Wade in the Water. Very nice cover of War Slipping Into Darkness. The version of Carmen is just epic. And this again, it brings back childhood memories of vacations and road trips, and you know, hearing this tape. And it's a cool cover. Look at that. It's got this like machine that he's playing the keyboard, and the machine is like pumping out records. So yeah, I'll call this my favorite. And this is a guy with tons of albums, so this decent enough answer for that question. What's the next question? Record bought in a brick and mortar shop. It's like bought in an actual store. That's most of my records. I very seldom buy a record online unless I absolutely positively need it and can't find it anywhere else. You know, finding records in the wild is 99% of the fun of finding records. This one's kind of interesting story. This one's from a brick and mortar store in San Francisco on Haight Street called Groove Merchant, and I was looking through their bargain bin near their front window, and I pulled out this record. I'd had it before. It kind of came and went, and I was looking at it, and somebody walking by outside the window saw me checking out this record and gave me a thumbs up, and I'm like, okay, that's a sign. And it's Wes Montgomery, A Day in the Life. Smoking's bad, kids. You know, Wes Montgomery fan would say it's not his best work. It's more pop. It's not as straight ahead as his albums on Riverside. But I like it. I mean, the orchestrations on A Day in the Life, the Beatles song, it's just a really interesting interpretation, and you know the playing is solid, and you know there's a lot to love if you like lounge music. I mean, he does Eleanor Rigby and Windy, and yeah, and, you know, if it's good enough for the guy who gave me a thumbs up, it's good enough for me, and yeah. So I like that memory, so I'll consider that. Okay. Next question, the record you bought online, and yeah, I couldn't really figure a jazz record that I bought online, but I'm gonna kind of bend this question. This is a record that if I did not discover it online, I would not know it existed, and I would not have bought it when I saw it in a brick and mortar store, because I had downloaded it off of a blog about a year before, and this is Quinto Plus. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but they were from Argentina, 1972. Kind of funky, groovy jazz, and this is a double album. It's not the same as the original record. It's actually the first disc is 6 tracks off the original record, and then the second disc is a live album. But this is really good. Their version of Ode to Billy Joe is epic. The first track, Loberman El Hombre Lobo, is great. Is solid. And look at that cover. That's a great cover. So I will call that my online record. Record that was given to you as a gift. Okay, this is the Four Men with Beards reissue of the electrifying Eddie Harris. And this record's got a little bit of everything. It's got the hit "Listen Here," which is kind of a funky Latin groove, and "Theme in Search of a Movie" with strings that's kind of loungy. Spanish Bull, which I guess is an homage to John Coltrane's Olé and gets into some free territory. And this is an upgrade from before I had this. I had like a beat up original copy that I got from a thrift store. And before that, I had an 8-track tape of this. So yeah, and this was given to me. So yeah, that's fills in that. Next question, box set. The Smithsonian Collection of Classic Jazz, which is 6 records, and it starts with Ragtime in New Orleans and goes about as far as the 60s with Ornette Coleman and John Coltrane, Cecil Taylor. 10-inch or 7-inch jazz record. Alright, so this is 10-inch. This is Crazy Hamp by Lionel Hampton on the MRC label. And this was a record my dad had. This is not the same copy because that was totally destroyed. But yeah, you know Hamp for his vibraphone playing. He also does a pretty crazy, if you will, drum solo on this one. Good record. Also a 7-inch. I'm going to, this is Funk in Deep Freeze by Hank Mobley Quintet on Blue Note. Alright, let's see. Most recent score. Okay, so this is late 2019. I think the last time I bought any records at all was January of 2020. And I don't think there was any jazz. But in late 2019, at a thrift store, I found a nice copy of Heavy Weather by Weather Report, which might be a little smooth for some tastes. But the playing is top notch. I mean, Jocko's bass playing on Teen Town is just unimpeachable, and this is in great shape. And Let's see, what's the next record that needs an upgrade? Okay. Gene Ammons, Nice and Cool. Okay, this is on Status, which you look up Status in the source and what do you get? Prestige. So this was like the Prestige subsidiary budget label, Status. And the original was like the green label, Moodsville. And this is beat. It's got a skip. I got two turntables. It skips on one of the turntables. But you know, if I want to hear it crackle free, I do have this CD which has that and another album. Free jazz. Free jazz. Record you got for free? No, free jazz. Like freedom jazz. Like free improvisation. People are scared of free jazz. They think it's all cacophonous racket. But this particular free jazz record is not only beautiful, it's one of the greatest records ever made. It's The Shape of Jazz to Come by Ornette Coleman. It speaks for itself. Just listen to it if you haven't heard it. I'm not even going to talk about it because, yeah. Desert Island Jazz Album. That's the last question on here. No, I skipped one. Record you hope to find. Record you hope to find. Well, I've got Don Cherry Brown Rice on CD. It'd be nice to find a vinyl copy of it someday because it's great. Desert Island Jazz record. That would be Thelonious Monk double album on Prestige because it's got pretty much every side that he recorded for Prestige on 2 records. And Monk would keep me company on a desert island. But you know, honestly, I would not bring records to a desert island. I mean, even if the professor made a coconut-powered turntable so I could listen to him, they'd get warped, you know, the sand would get on them, they'd get scratched up, you know, the record would be ruined. So what I would probably bring to a desert island would be this little antique iPod that I found on a sidewalk a couple years ago. And I actually got it to work, and it's got like half a gig. And so I put the John Coltrane 1958 Prestige box set on this iPod. So I would probably bring that to a desert island, you know, because you need quantity if you're going to be stuck on an island. All right, that's my video. Leave a comment, subscribe, blah, 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 you know, all that. And maybe I'll do this again, or maybe not. We'll see. Uncertain the